Mathematical experiences for very young children should build upon their play and the natural relationships that occur between learning and life through their daily activities, their interests, and questions. Children become intensely engaged in play. Pursuing their own purposes and interests, they tend to tackle problems that are challenging enough to be engrossing, yet not totally beyond their capabilities. Sticking with a problem, puzzling over it, and approaching it in various ways can lead to powerful learning. In addition, when several children grapple with the same problem, they often come up with different approaches, discuss various strategies, and then they learn from one another. It's these aspects of play that can promote thinking and learning in mathematics as well as in other areas. The range of mathematics explored during free play can be impressive. We see that free play offers a rich foundation on which to build interesting mathematics. These everyday experiences form the foundation for later mathematical success. Later in life, children can elaborate on the ideas that they develop during play. We call this process mathematization, and we recognize that children need both the foundational experiences as well as specific math activities. Play, of course, doesn't guarantee mathematical development. It doesn't guarantee learning in any area, but it offers rich possibilities that in classrooms, if teachers capitalize on, can create a lot of math learning. The significant benefits are more likely when teachers follow up by engaging children in reflecting on and representing the mathematical ideas that have emerged in their play. Teachers enhance children's mathematical learning when they ask good questions, provoke clarifications, extensions, and development of new understanding. In thinking about the development of mathematical skills through play, well, let's consider different areas of the classroom. For example, starting with blocks, a typical material within the early childhood classroom that many children play with, it has the potential to develop skills very deep and broad for children. Obviously, by building with blocks, children can increase their mathematical thinking, scientific knowledge, general reasoning abilities, and block building develops over time. We need to recognize that as a very young infant who's more focused on the sensory motor aspects of the block, they might be mouthing it, clapping them together, listening to the sounds. It's not until they begin to develop the spatial reasoning and spatial relationships with materials that they begin to thinking about placing blocks on or next to each other. At 2 years of age, you'll start to see that children will develop a systematic approach to successively building with blocks, adding one block to another, recognizing when they fall down, engaging in repetitive play, building a tower, knocking it down, building a tower, knocking it down. And then by 3 to 4 years of age, you'll start to see children building vertically and horizontally and focusing on how tall they can make something and how stable they can make something or how long they can make it, and thinking about applying different mathematical concepts in their play, counting how many blocks, beginning to think about measuring, thinking about symmetry in their block building. All of these mathematical concepts begin to come out as they play with this very familiar material. Now, let's take a look at music. Music and rhythm is a pattern that children recognize very early on. As you know, children love music and song, and it should be an integral part of the early childhood curriculum. As children engage with music, it can become more complicated. You can point out deliberate patterns. You can clap with children. You can engage in different rhythms and patterns, such as clap, clap, snap, snap, snap. And each time gets successively more complicated. You can look at within music the different patterns, such as singing a song like Down by the Bay and how the pattern repeats itself over and over again. You can add movements to it, such as jump, jump, fall down, jump, jump, fall down. And soon you can help them recognize that this is an AAB pattern. There's nothing that says we have to teach patterns with letters or colors. We can use our bodies, we can use music, we can use so many different things. And within many songs, you'll notice that there are tons and tons of rhythms and patterns that children can build upon. Typically in an early childhood classroom, there will be a water or sand table. Of course, sensory play is not limited to these things, but thinking about how things flow and how by working with materials that flow like water or sand, there are certain mathematical concepts that can be taught. as you notice by observing children in play, which many of you have done, you'll see them pouring water and pouring sand and pouring it into different things, measuring as they go, counting how many cupfuls can fit into another, thinking about when they pour through a funnel, how long it might take for the water to fill the cup, how many of a small cup fits in a big cup. Even smaller play using droppers with water is another way to start thinking about counting in addition to volume. Another activity that happens typically in early childhood classrooms is using a sensory material like Play-Doh or clay. The opportunity for children to shape, to change the shape of, thinks about conservation of matter, and within that provides opportunities for mathematical thinking and reasoning. By giving children cookie cutters, they can engage with different shapes and obviously numbers and letters to integrate literacy in. They can make copies of the same material using different cookie cutters. So we can make different shapes, different sizes of a star. We can make one star and then another star and then smash one down. It uses the same amount of Play-Doh, but yet the size of it is different, really thinking about the conservation of that. We can roll out snakes made out of our Play-Doh and talk about the length of the object. We can make a ball and then smush it and put it in a bigger pile of Play-Doh, and all of a sudden it's gone, and really thinking about the conservation of matter in that way. So there's so many opportunities within play with these very familiar materials to engage in some real mathematical reasoning. Manipulatives are another toy within an early childhood classroom that are typically used. Oftentimes you'll see classrooms where they will actually purchase math manipulatives. However, this isn't necessary. So many different materials can serve as effective math manipulatives. Here you see a child playing with some buttons. It's a perfect opportunity to sort and to classify, to look at different characteristics of an object and begin to think about what qualities it possesses. In order to make a pattern, children first need to know the basics of categorization, understanding the differences between two objects, and then using them by sorting to sort them, and then from that can create patterns and more complex algebraic problems based on first understanding the qualities within an object. Children will learn about shapes through play with manipulatives, putting puzzles together, building with magnetic blocks. All those different small manipulatives provide many opportunities for children to think about shapes, numbers, categorization that lays the foundation for later mathematical thinking. Oftentimes people think that there shouldn't be a connection between play and technology, that screen time is a bad thing for children. Obviously, children being on a screen is not an active learning environment, but there are so many opportunities to use computers, digital cameras, video cameras, iPads for children to engage with mathematical processes. Obviously, they can begin to take pictures of things, lay pictures on top of each other, play certain games that have the ideas of matching and counting. There's certainly the opportunities for higher level thinking using computers and problem solving. Children can use technology to create their own games that provide opportunities for them to explore their environment, take pictures of buildings in their environment, point out the shapes, draw on those pictures, and really use their environment and the technology available to them to create their own meaningful learning experiences. There are so many opportunities within dramatic play for children to engage with mathematical concepts. Here you see some children playing with telephones. They have opportunities to write down phone numbers and use phone books. This is just one way that they can dramatize what happens in their normal world. Every time they set a table with plates and dishes, they're using one-to-one correspondence. They can talk about volume as they pour water into cups and think about how much water they're filling into the cup. How many friends they made, who's bigger or smaller, whether you're playing a baby or an adult, the size of the materials that you're using. So dramatic play lends itself to many, many mathematical concepts. Of course, with all of this, what is most important is that teachers engage with children in this play and facilitate mathematical thinking. Research studies show that if children play with an object before they're asked to solve a problem, they'll ultimately be more successful and more creative in solving a problem with that object. Oftentimes, we give children a mathematical problem and ask them to solve it. Therefore, they learn a specific way to solve the problem. However, when we're giving them materials that they can play with in an open-ended fashion, they'll find out multiple ways to tackle the task and the learning experience by exploration. And what really happens is these children who have the opportunity to really play with materials will ultimately develop greater mathematical understanding and an understanding of how to use objects in mathematical ways. It's so important that we understand that there is mathematical play, and there's a place for that within the classroom. We don't mean, in general that play that involve, all play involves mathematics. Obviously, that's not the case. But that children can play with math, and they can find fun in playing with math. But it's about us creating opportunities for them to do that. A simple game that children play is birthday party. You might see them do this with Play-Doh, sticking sticks in it like candles on a cake, and counting. You'll see them so excited to put pegs in a board and make a birthday cake. This is something that they relive over and over and play out so many times in their play. These are the things that we can build upon naturally. How old are you? How many candles go on your cake? Don't be afraid to tell the children how old you are. Let's see if they can count out all those candles and then blow out all those candles. But it's when their play is meaningful and purposeful that they care more about it, and ultimately, the richer the experience is.